선수들 자체는 아마 뭔가 올해가 마지막이다라고 생각할 것 같아요. 게이머 이후를 준비하면서 마지막 연도 뭔가 후회 없이 해보자는 생각으로 하지 않을까 싶어요, 다들 다. 네.
조어라 완전해서 유종의 미를 거둬야 되지 않나 생각.
온라인 대회 진짜 하듯이 되게 마음 편하게 할 거예요. 야, 온라인 대회 맞구나 생각해보니까.
뭐든 시작이 있으면 끝이 있는 거라고 생각해서 잘 마무리했으면 좋겠어요.
게임을 10년 하면서 올해처럼 좀 더 잘하고 싶은 적이 없었던 것 같아요. 그래서 연습은 열심히 하고 있고 후회 없이 좀 즐겁게 할 생각을 하고 있어요.
그냥 작년처럼 다 열심히 해가지고 재밌는 한 해 보냈으면 좋겠어요.
정말 진짜 마지막 기회일 수도 있겠다라는 생각 때문에 좀 더 불타오르는 것 같아요.
뭐 대회가 없는 건 아니기 때문에 없는 것과 축소된 건 좀 다르다고 생각하고 연습을 온라인상으로 해봐도 작년이랑 선수들의 연습량의 차이가 없다고 느껴서 제 스스로 좀 실망을 했어요. 이제 판이 축소돼서 이제 다들 의기소침해할 때 내가 더 열심히 해서 그 격차를 따라잡아야겠다 생각했는데 애들이 연습을 꾸준히 하는 걸 보면서 제가 의욕이 오히려 떨어지지 않았나 생각합니다.
오랜 기간 동안 GSL 참여한 입장으로서 이제 좀 팬들한테 마지막을 장식하는 시즌이 되지 않을까, 이번 해가. 한 판 한 판 늘 열심히 잘 해야겠죠.
사실 이런 인터뷰를 2019년도부터인가 좀 많이 했었는데 뭐 올해는 이제 진짜로 마지막인 것 같아가지고 팬 여러분들하고 이제 관계자분들이 좋게 막 후원해 주시고 좋게 봐주시고 응원도 많이 해주시고 관심도 많이 가져주셔서 이렇게 계속 유지될 수 있다고 생각을 했어요. 그리고 마지막으로 이제 1년 진짜 1년 남은 것 같은데 많이 응원해 주시고 재밌게 봐주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
그래도 저를 아직 응원해 주시고 좋아해 주시는 팬분들이 아직 많이 계세요. 그분들을 생각하면은 너무 지금도 너무 감사하거든요. 그래서 이번 GSL 최선을 다해 준비해서 좋은 결과 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
안 좋은 상황임에도 이렇게 다시 한번 GSL 무대에 설 수 있어서 굉장히 기쁜 것 같고,
결과보다는 노력하는 것 자체가 즐겁기 때문에 지치지 않는다 이런 생각으로 끝까지 좀 한번 해보고 싶습니다.
성적을 못 내고 있었다가 이제 그래도 조금은 내려고 하고 있기 때문에 저는 긍정적으로 생각을 하면서
옛날 생각을 좀 많이 했던 것 같아요. 제가 10대에 GSL 시작했는데 10대 GSL, 20대도 전부 GSL 보내고 30대는 지금도 GSL 하고 있잖아요. 인생의 반을 거의 GSL에 보냈는데 덜 열심히 할 수 없잖아요. 그래도 있는 거 계속 끝까지 열심히 해야지.
선수 입장에서는 축소된 게 아쉽긴 한데 그럼에도 불구하고 이렇게 대회를 열어준 아프리카한테 굉장히 고마워하고 있고 또 이렇게 열어준 만큼 선수들이 잘해야겠다는 생각을 가지고 있어요. 저도 열심히 할 거고 좋은 경기 보여드리는 게 팬분들한테도 좋을 것 같아요.
What is up, everybody? GSL Code S starts again here. We're in Season 1. I'm Tasis, joined with me is State. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Good to be back here at GSL, man. It's been a while since I've casted some StarCraft 2. I'm looking to get into it again.
I know. We have a little bit of time off. It's good to finally get back into things. We do have it a little bit different this time. We are floating behind chains instead of in our normal studio. We've done a little bit of downsizing, as I'm sure you guys already know, but it's going to be a lot of action-packed games regardless. And, looking at that interview with those players, I was getting emotional.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite expecting that. I knew we had a title video heading into this thing, but I mean, a lot of these players talk about how much the GSL means to them, how much the fans mean to them, the game, and, there's kind of a tough time right now for StarCraft 2 across the world.
Yeah, well, the world's also in a tough time as well. We're kind of in a recession, and I'm glad that Africa TV continues to support StarCraft 2, and we're going to be doing this, even if it's in a little bit of a smaller capacity. So we don't have the players here in the studio. We're actually not even in the normal studio that we record this at. They're going to be playing from home. We have cams set up like that, but it's going to be the same games, same players, same epic plays that we've seen before.
Yeah, and based on the interviews, man, it sounds like these players are even more determined to kind of give it one big last hurrah, Even if it isn't the last hurrah, they're more motivated than ever to give the best possible performance they can just in case. And, with the smaller GSL size too, down to 16 players here in the round of 16 starting things out, it's going to be even more cutthroat than it's ever been.
Yeah, we're really getting the cream of the crop over here. So here's our full schedule. you can see we're going to be on every Tuesday and then every Thursday. Now, I said we can't have a live studio audience, but that's not true for the final date. So if you look down there, when the grand final is, you can show up, get in. I believe you're going to have to purchase a ticket. We'll have more information on that as we get closer to that. And you can have the same experience that you may have had in the past if you come and joined us in the studio before.
Right, so it'll be every Tuesday and Thursday heading up to that finals. Round of 16, round of 8 group stages will be played online. And then, of course, that one big finale with both the semifinals and the finals all kicking off.
It's going to be fun. It's a little bit like what we did in Super Tournament, where we had the Final Four and then the finals itself on the same day. So we're going to have that. This is another feature we've added in here, is there's a Patreon. This money goes to support the prize pool, 100% of it.
Yeah, 100% of proceeds from the Patreon and from the Afrika TV donations. If you're a fan that's watching on Afrika TV,
right,
you can give star balloons. If you want to go to patreon.com, I think /GSL.
Yeah,
Go
right
ahead.
there. Yeah, patreon.com/GSL. Yeah, and if you want to just donate, in really whatever currency you're using. And this is basically, I mean, this is where we're at now. We already saw the Patreon get set up for ASL as well,
right?
That Artosis and I are still doing. But with the way things are, it's going to come down to the community to basically support and fund this as we move forward.
Yeah, and it's such a good faith thing, too, from Afrika TV to take 100% of the proceeds of these donations directly into the prize pool of the GSL. So if you're a fan that wants to support the GSL, support these players, no better way to do it than to tune in, or if you can spare it, to also contribute like that. I think we have some nice rewards there for fans as well. I think there are some tiers that have first come, first served tickets to the GSL finals. That'll be happening in a couple of weeks. In addition, there are things like player high-res photos for their profile pictures and that sort of thing. I think we have some backstage videos as well.
Right. So some little perks if you want to support the GSL. And, as you can see, we've got a whole new map pool. This is going to be a fun season for sure. And we're going to be going pretty rapid fire, which can be interesting as well. It's going to be 2 days a week cranked down until we get right to that finals. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and this round of 16, as you said, cream of the crop. It's going to be pretty hotly contested. We have some new players that are coming back. Innovation is going to be playing this season, which is something I'm looking forward to. With the round of 16, the competition is so fierce that we have some players that weren't even able to qualify that we might expect to see here. And we have a good look right now of the groups for the round of 16, starting off today with Maru, NightMare, ByuN, and DRG.
Yeah, this is going to be a very fun Group A, but all these groups are really interesting. Was a very Terran dominant GSL to start this off. Only 5 Protosses, and then this is quite the plot twist, especially if you've been watching GSL the last couple of years. There's only 3 Zergs. Now, Zerg has historically done pretty well in StarCraft 2. And obviously the 3 Zergs that we have here today, these are like the very best of the best Zergs that you could ask for. But I think it's much more likely this is a GSL where we may not have that same kind of Zerg dominance.
Yeah, we might have a Terran or a Protoss champion here at the first GSL of 2023, and unfortunately no foreigners were able to qualify for the round of 16. I believe both Scarlet and Special got just 1 round from qualifications, but inevitably did fall. So it's gonna be a tough road for all these players here on that journey to the finals. I mean, looking at every single one of these groups, I think today it's a little more lopsided in the favor of, I would say, Maru and ByuN. I mean, DRG, he had a lot of top 6 finishes last year in GSL, so he's certainly someone that you can't write off. But besides that, a lot of these groups, I'm not too sure who's going to advance from them.
It's a tough one to call. I look at Group B, I think Hero's got a real shot. Over in Group C, probably Dark gets out first. But anyways, we can focus in on our group that we've got here today. So it's going to be Maru, NightMare, ByuN, and DRG. Now, DRG, obviously he was the best that we could see in Heart of the Swarm, but he's actually been pretty solid the last couple of years. Maru, I think he's a shoo-in. I think he gets out easily. I think it's going to be a tough group for NightMare. ByuN, he's been a little bit hot or cold. I think it depends on how he approaches the games here today.
Yeah, it depends on what ByuN we get here today. Is it going to be ByuN at peak form, playing his best? Because if it is, I mean, he could take on anyone in the world, anyone in this group, certainly. But for me, the most interesting story here is going to be how DRG performs in these EVTs, because, I would say he's favored against NightMare. NightMare is certainly the dark horse here in this group to advance. But you know, DRG, if he's able to take some series off of Maru, some series off of ByuN, he might actually make his way into the round of 8 with an upset.
So with Maru, I just imagine this guy is going to 2-0, 2-0, and move right on out.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has won GSL 5 times and then gotten second place 3 times. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's basically had the most success in a GSL ever. He's the closest thing we have in Korea to Flash for StarCraft 2.
Absolutely, and he has said in the past that TVT is his hardest matchup right now, but this is somebody that's still having success ever since, you know, IM Katowice, where he got second place, lost to Oliveira in the finals, but since then, I mean, he beat Oliveira 4-0 in a tournament, I think it was a Pigsty in March. That was another online event, and he also beat ByuN, who's in this group as well, in a best of 7, 4-2. So Maru, TVT, it's his toughest matchup. His TVT versus ByuN might be the hardest match that he plays today, but
yeah, NightMare's a guy who occasionally like floats into a GSL, doesn't usually get that far. Obviously, I mean, with the state, you know, with only 16 players that we have, it's so hard to even get this far. So, I mean, this is going to be a tough group for him. I think it would be tough no matter what group he was in.
Right.
But especially a bad hand to be dealt to you when you're going up against the likes of Maru.
he didn't have a bad showing in the qualifiers, though. He did beat TY 2-0, and also in his qualifying match, he was able to dispatch both Su and Solar. So, you know, traditionally, I used to kind of think of this guy as a little bit of a PvP sniper. That was his best matchup. He would come up with these builds, these sharp timings, and use good control to kind of leverage that into series wins.
Yeah.
Where PvT and PvZ for him, a little bit more shaky. But, you know, given the GSL qualifier performance that we saw from him, who knows? Maybe he has a chance.
Yeah, let's see what he can come up with. Now, Maru's somebody who's really been defining the meta with Terran over and over again. I really don't know how he's going to be approaching this. He has been able to mix up his play style and reinvent the way that Terran can be played so many times over. So I'm expecting this to probably be a 2-0, but I would love to be proven wrong here. I would love to see NightMare actually take this.
Yeah, underdog stories would absolutely be hype. And if NightMare were to advance, I mean, I don't know who between Maru, ByuN, and DRG would be able to, you know, match that in second place. I mean, that's a gauntlet to go through. Obviously, Maru would be the favorite as he begins his quest here in 2023 towards that G6L.
We are going to we're going to get to see what everybody's room looks like by the time we're done with this. I'm already like, I wonder if it's hard to get into those drawers that are by NightMare, like if that's whereas Maru's room, very spacious.
Yeah,
he's got the shrine of all of his trophies.
He's got room for more trophies on that wall, man.
NightMare, we know this guy has plenty of jackets when it gets cold. Anyways, guys, we are ready to go into our first game. Let's do this. GSL continues on in 2023. Okay, so I guess we're not going to do the other player intro just yet here.
No, Maru's setting an early SCV.
And we actually have no sound right now. We'll probably get a little bit of this tuned in here, but right now it's just you and me. At least all I can hear. Stay. Anyways, Maru is sending an SCV all the way across the map up here towards the top right. He has gotten his own gas, and so obviously he's going to be trying to be aggressive a little bit early on here. Do you think this could be some kind of Marauder pressure?
Double gas, I'm thinking it's more likely to be Reaper into some kind of tech, but we'll see exactly what he comes up with.
I think you're right. I didn't even notice the second gas. Sorry about that.
No, he just threw that down. It's only halfway done. But, you know, NightMare went for a gas first into gateway opening, so that gateway and cybernetics core might be slightly delayed, just a smidgen later than usual. We'll see if he's able to, you know, hold on from that Reaper coming out with the units that he has as this probe. Going to drop down the Nexus here right on 20 supply. So core is going to be the next building coming down here for NightMare, but that barracks tasteless already done. Reaper started.
Yeah, the Reaper's going to be coming out right now. We do have the core wall in here over onto the side. And it looks like with the first rally, he's actually going to be sending the Reaper out immediately. He's not going to be trying to pull that up and try to spring any kind of surprise on him.
Yeah, and I was wondering whether there was going to be a factory proxied outside the base as well, but actually just going to be building that there, the natural ramp. Maru's SCV now coming back in, confirming the build here for NightMare, and that Reaper just about to pop.
Yeah, the bunker's now coming down. Reaper inbound here. And behind this, back at home, we've got a factory coming here. I would imagine we'll have a starport shortly after that. The probes are going to have to be pulled away. Now, this is not going to be any kind of attack that should cause any fatal damage, but it's definitely going to trip up the build order, the opening here for NightMare.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a pretty bad situation here for NightMare. Already losing 2 probes, might lose a third one. That Stalker only 75% done, so a third probe will fall, and losing 3 probes out of 24 early is a big deal. To add insult to injury, a Marine also coming here with that that bunker, and this is going to be a tough position here for NightMare to break. I mean, he has this Nexus out, but he can't really use it.
Yeah, I don't even know about this. He's got a shield battery that he can regen that, but I mean, the SCV could just repair the bunker, so I'm not sure what the rationale here is for this. He might be just a little bit panicked. Another Marine's going to come down in here, and the damage is just going to continue to pile on here. That one pylon actually over at the entrance is going to be shut out, and that will not actually supply block the Protoss here. But after that, the only other target is going to be the Nexus.
Yep, Robo and Gateway in production here for NightMare, so it looks like he will be using a Immortal to try and bust this thing out, and Reaper's going to come back in. Gets to spot the tech right there. Does see the Robo. Oh, no, actually the Gateway going down. So he doesn't know exactly what NightMare is choosing in terms of tech to try and, quell this situation that he has here in his natural expansion. But, Maru, he's going to be happy with this pressure. He's expanding behind it. Cyclone now coming out. And,
oh my God, this is so
man.
good. He just calls it right there, comes out, shoots down that Stalker. This is kind of a disaster. I said when this rush started, this isn't going to be fatal damage, but it will be a little bit annoying. Well, it's turning out to be really difficult to handle. The shields are already gone here on the Nexus. The Cyclone's now coming out. Is he going to lose this Nexus as well?
He might. I mean, that Robo, it's going for a Warp Prism, so he's going to try and use that to avoid the lock-on the Cyclone and maybe micro a little bit against that bunker. But, frankly, I think that Nexus might be going down. It's already half HP. One more Gateway in production.
This is wild. He's going to take the Nexus out. He has a command center that's going to be finished. I don't know if there's actually a way to navigate this where you come out surviving this as Protoss. He's going to sell off that bunker. He's going to pull back with the rest of his forces. Protoss is stuck now with 3 gates. They've got a Warp Prism. Maybe there's some counterplay.
I like this play here from NightMare. He needs to get some damage done. The question is, will he be able to find any damage over at Maru's base? Setting a probe down to the natural expansion, he will rebuild that Nexus, but as it is already down 5 workers and Terran 2 orbitals with those mules as well. I mean, Maru's income is huge right now. NightMare needs big damage.
Yeah, he is going to take that depot out. I think that Maru has the right idea. Whenever you have the threat of a War Prism coming and then there's a lot of Stalkers inside, and I think you want one siege tank sieged up exactly in the middle of your base and kind of space that out so that they're going to be at risk of overextending. It does seem like NightMare may try to actually commit into this.
Ooh.
He does take the Cyclone out with a very nice force field, but overall, so much of his army is so bruised.
Yeah, everything's battered and bruised, but luckily for NightMare, he wasn't going to actually lose any units right there. All those Stalkers remaining alive. Cyclone does get cleaned up, so that's a win for him, but the question is that enough damage? You're going to trade some HP for, what, a Cyclone, some Marines, but at the end of the day, I like Maru's position so much more here. I feel like NightMare needs to get more done.
Yeah, this is definitely not enough. To be honest, I almost feel like this is probably going to be a pretty easy game from here on out for Maru. I mean, his rush went so well. I was actually, if I could be critical for a little bit, I don't like the way that NightMare tried to respond to it. It was like a very much hinged on Maru playing poorly to execute that. He has a battery, like he's eventually just going to kill the SCV that's repairing it, and then over time he'll damage the thing enough that it'll go away. Totally didn't work. I think maybe rushing for an Immortal would have been a little bit better, but it's like we talked about before this series started, that Maru is always good at changing things up and redefining how to play Terran, and clearly NightMare was caught off guard.
Absolutely. That proxy barracks combined with NightMare going for gas first into an expansion, just not really going his way in terms of the draw. As the Reaper comes in, does see the double gas here at the natural expansion. Also confirmed that there's no third Nexus here for NightMare, so I kind of like what NightMare is doing here because he has to make a play, right? Given the position that he's in, where he's behind economically, he took a lot of damage early on. And so for him, he's not going to be playing that kind of standard game where you go for, a faster third base, potentially into Blink Stalkers or Colossi or Disruptors. It's him going 2 bases, Charge Zealot, Archon, adding in Templar, getting Storm here on 2 bases. But Maru, he knows how far ahead he is. He already scanned this position earlier in the game. He's doing it again, just trying to confirm what tech is coming out from NightMare because I mean, he knows that he has a little bit of buffer, right? He has enough of a lead that as long as he doesn't blunder this or get caught off guard somehow, he should just be able to push this into a win.
Yeah, this push is looking pretty scary. You know, the beating that NightMare took early on is only going to make the push that's coming out now so much stronger. He is going to have Psystorm finishing. Maybe he can have some pretty incredible connections depending on how bunched up stuff is, but I think just the raw power of what's coming here from the Terran, especially now that he's spacing this out so Storm can't be utilized as easily, this is going to be a tough one, I think, for NightMare to survive.
Yeah, we'll see NightMare coming down now. Storm drops out of the Warp Prison, but it does get disabled, so no more Templar are able to drop. One Siege Tank does go down. The bunker gets denied too, but at what cost? Is NightMare's lost so much energy here on these Templar. Most of the bio remains alive. The medevacs have now healed it up, and with 2 Siege Tanks here left at the bottom of this ramp, I'm not sure if NightMare's going to break this.
Yeah, he's going to try to come down here with those storms. The first one is very lackluster. The second hits only a little bit of the infantry. That tank is still, oh no, it's now picked off, but has the damage already been dealt? We see the stutter step micro come forward here and wipe out everything that these shots connect with.
Yeah, that's just a ton of damage coming NightMare's way. Those 2 Widow Mines absolutely clutched there at the front of Maru's army. Got massive splash damage hits off, and you know, NightMare, he's going to fight for his life. They're going to try and survive as best he can, but Maru right now just in a commanding position.
Yeah, another big warp in comes in, and it looks like, you know, right now NightMare's barely alive. I'm worried for him. You know, we're seeing these more and more infantry parade down here. The tanks were taken out. That part is at least good, but now the Terran is supplementing this with Widow Mines. There is an expansion being taken down here, and it is just now spotted by Maru.
Yeah, and that's Maru just going down to check that expansion. He's not going for a drop. That's an empty medevac. He just has his wits about him. He knows that NightMare is going to be hungry for a third base to try and keep this very resource-intensive army composition going, and NightMare, you know, his hand is forced here. He's going to have to try and fight to hold on to this position, but I don't know if the Storms are going to be able to connect.
Yeah, this is just not looking good. That was a good one right there, but I'm just worried that this army is not meaty enough to actually fight what's over here. Another pretty good Storm coming down on some of these Marauders, but as the micro plays out, it looks like, my God, he's actually driving this back. This is wild.
Yeah, those Storms are about as best as you could possibly hope there for NightMare. His army at one point was pretty much just 2 Immortals and a bunch of Templar. He was able to clean up all of the Marines there with the Storm, but the problem is that Maru's army here, it's so microable, especially here with these Widow Mines, that if you're NightMare, how do you actually fully push Maru's army away from this position? He's going to try and saturate this third base now, but Maru's just going to keep burrowing these Widow Mines, and I don't see there being any possible way for NightMare to break this entrenchment.
Yeah, I mean, I got to commend NightMare for basically trying to take the fight, but we're starting to see the supplies really get different here. We're starting to see the Terran close in on this. That's going to be game 1. GG Maru with an S-class game from the very start all the way to the very finish. An impressive showing, and kind of a different opening than what we've seen from him before.
Yeah, not really. Haven't really seen too many proxy Reaper openings like that from Maru.
It's one Reaper too, and then it's Marines, which was interesting. In my head, sometimes I'll see somebody proxy and start to make a Reaper, and I always think, like, well, now he has to keep making Reapers. There's no reason why they have to do that, but we've seen a lot of rushes that are like that. But that's a cool approach to basically come in with that one Reaper. You start to pick off the probes. This hiccups all the income. Then right when the Stalker's out, you send the Reaper back into the bunker, but then Marines come in.
Yeah, and the Marines were coming from an angle where NightMare really had no chance of actually going in to intercept them. Yeah. So they just kept filling up and filling up. There was that battery on the high ground, but there really wasn't enough firepower to utilize that at all. You know, you would see him poke down with 1 Stalker, maybe 2. The SCV would repair, the shields would be regenerated, and then you're just back at the same position that you were before, basically, as Maru able to ride that momentum on Babylon to a pretty clean victory.
Royal Blood is going to be map 2 here. And let's see what Maru's got in store for us. NightMare, you know, I think he did an okay job, all things considered, but he does seem to be outmatched, outclassed. It seems like Maru's playing a new style, and NightMare just wasn't ready for it. Let's go into game 2 and see if he can recover or if Maru closes this out 2-0. Oh, we might skip the intros here. He's going to send this SCV out now.
Thought we had a second there. I went to go drink some water, and then I just look, and there's a SCV rolling across the map again. Oh, goodness. Maru's got some fight in him today. He's feisty.
Yeah, this is going to be cool. So let's remember, we saw one Reaper, then Marines. What will he do this time? You know, Maru is also known for having like one starting opener, and then he branches it out into a bunch of different things. So even if you start to experience what looks like what he did last game, he may have something totally different to throw you off.
Yeah, we'll see where he decides to go with this. NightMare, by the looks of things, going for basically the same opening. Does have a probe scout moving across the map right now, so he should know earlier than last game at least that there is going to be a proxy underway here. And for Maru, you know, so far everything just about the same. Second refinery also going down. I'm guessing it's going to be about the same build, but as you said, Maru is a player that's known to shake these kind of things up. Even though this setup right now looks exactly identical, it could go many different ways.
Well, he does get the scout in here early. I can't remember in the last game if he actually scouted and knew that the proxy was coming.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did, yeah. And so, you know, knowing really is half the battle. G.I. Joe was right about that.
Oh, okay.
But this is cool. This is an eBay. Now, it's a proxied barracks and an eBay here. So that's going to force the Nexus up here. So the Protoss isn't denied more income, but he is expanding into an uncomfortable spot, and there it is.
Yeah, the bunker goes down yet again here at that third base for NightMare. Reaper almost out of the barracks, going to be moving across the map now, and we do have a Zealot here for NightMare, but the thing about the Zealot is it's not really able to catch up to anything besides that SCV. So if NightMare controls this perfectly, he might be able to stop that bunker from getting up, and yeah, it looks like Maru took a little bit too much damage there with the SCV, so
yeah,
will get denied.
He wasn't able to finish that in time, but the Zealot can't do anything to keep these probes alive. I mean, the Reaper just doesn't have to respect the Zealot at all. The Stalker is going to come out, that will chase the Reaper away. But look, I got to say, this is a much better start, a much better early game here for Maru.
Yeah, it's a little...
I'm sorry, for Nightmares.
Oh, compared to last game.
Yeah, compared to the last game, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with you, though, that this does feel like a better position for Maru overall. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but, you know, it's such an awkward spot to be in as Protoss with that third base, you know, or with your natural expansion, I should say, taken so far forward.
Yeah.
You got to make this Zealot. You've already lost. I mean, this is the third probe, I think, that's gone down already. And with two Reapers on the map and a Widowmine in production, I think NightMare is going to try and poke up this ramp here with the Stalker and the Zealot. But, you know, these units individually, they don't pack a lot of punch, but the three of them together, they can actually take on this Stalker.
Yeah, not bad taking that one Stalker out. The Zealot and the other Stalker are going to continue to come up here. And try to put it. Okay, now hold on. Did he see that Widow Mine?
He should be able to see it.
Yeah, he should have noticed that. So that means he's going to back up. Nicely done. And you know, Terran's going to be finishing their command center soon, but I got to say, this is a lot more of a close match, and one that I think it's definitely possible that NightMare could come out here victorious long term.
Oh, absolutely. Last game, it almost felt like he was written off right from the beginning, but just losing all these probes hurts so much, and this is part of the awkwardness of, you know, spreading yourself so thin. Going for that forward expansion there because of the eBay block opens up these opportunities for Maru to come in with these Reapers and try to pick off probes. I think it might be maybe 4 that have gone down already. And that's like 10% of NightMare's economy. That's a sizable amount.
It's a lot. And we might see a lot of probes get killed up here. There's going to be a drop. I think this has basically gone totally undetected. And drops like this, I mean, you basically have to be ready to move like the second this comes in, or you're going to take incredible damage. And we do see some Micron on the map, so NightMare,
oh, no.
He's not, well, he notices maybe it's a little bit too late.
Yeah, reacts just in the nick of time. As if he noticed that a fraction of a second later, it would have been a disastrous situation for him, but we'll be able to clean up one of these Widow Mines. One will escape with that medevac, and at the end of the day, it's just one probe and a bit of idle time here for NightMare, but you know, Maru, I think he's happy about that. He knows these Stalkers are back at home. He has a bit of a better idea of exactly where NightMare is at. And anytime you could force idle time like this and pick off additional workers, especially after you picked off so many already early in the game,
yeah,
you're feeling pretty good as a Terran.
This is one of those maps where you have this huge empty area in the bottom left, so you can park the medevac there. And that's basically there forever unless you get something that can get over there and actually kill that. Back at home for Terran, we've got a lot more barracks finishing up. We've got a lot more infantry being cranked out. A Dark Shrine starts for the Protoss as Blink is about to finish.
And Blink Stalkers into a third base with the Dark Shrine here for NightMare as these Stalkers just going to poke and prod a little bit. At Maru's natural expansion. And Charge started straight away, so NightMare really going to lean heavily into this gateway style. And yeah, there's the Forge. I was wondering when we were going to see that here. To couple along with these Stalkers and Zealots that he's going for. Man, you weren't kidding about this airspace. That's
pretty massive,
excessive.
man. There's a lot of room back there. And so things have quieted down a little bit. Protoss is taking that third base, which is normal. You know, we did see Maru pretty interested in kind of closing it with a two-base push. And I'm sorry, there's not been another command center made.
No, I don't
right?
think so. Looking
Okay.
at the mini-map, it seems like it's just going to be two-base play right now here for
we're
Maru.
casting this in a different setting, and the monitor, the lights in here are very bright. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. But yeah, I don't think I saw a CC made, which means that he has to push or make a CC later on, and I think that push is actually going to come right now. Let's not forget that this base that was forced to be taken early on is in a pretty accessible location for the Terran to hit.
Yep, Dark Shrine is completed now for NightMare, but keep in mind that Maru does have that Raven here with this army, although it is a little bit far forward. If NightMare's, you know, gets the jump on that Raven a little bit later here in this engagement, there's an opportunity to snipe that down and try to force some more scans. Maru already spending one scan here at what is now the third base for NightMare, and Maru's going to push up. Well, it's actually just going to be a straight Archon. He doesn't think he can get the Raven.
Yeah, he's not confident with that move. This is very well placed, by the way. I like the Stalkers to intercept over here, but I am worried that this Nexus just isn't going to last. The shields are already gone. There's not enough movement here to kind of come in here and protect this. I don't know if he can get that critical mass, that number of units up to try to take this. Well, hold on a second.
Oh!
This is actually a really good position here from NightMare.
Oh, big move right there for NightMare as that medevac barely gets away with both siege tanks and finally does get sniped as Maru with, you know, a rare blunder right there kind of gets pulled apart a little bit as NightMare, you know, those three Stalkers were just kind of linchpinning his defense by preventing all of these reinforcements from Maru from coming in and joining with a main force outside that third base. And when Maru, he tried to dispatch that force, suddenly NightMare just jumps on that front position. He had the Charge Zealots, he had the Blink Stalker, picks off a lot of key units, and it went from what felt like a very precarious position to NightMare to one that is absolutely playable very quickly.
Yeah, this is going to be a very slippery game now for Maru. You know, I was really in agreement with what you were saying, State, that like those three Stalkers killed off so many reinforcements and tripped up Maru so much that when he tried to pull back, losing the medevac with the two tanks is huge. Now that being said, Maru is not wavering. He's going to commit even further over here. He is getting a third command center as well, so he's not all in. Development can continue onward as normal.
Those are big Widow Mine hits, though.
Yeah.
And, you know, with as good as that early engagement was there for NightMare, his army is, you know, not very adept at dealing with this large bio ball with Widow Mines and medevacs that Maru has. I mean, Maru could just kind of kite this here into oblivion. You see right now NightMare trying to go for at least a little bit of sentries for Guardian Shield and Force Field to try and mitigate the damage and perhaps allow those Zealots to connect here with this bio, but it's such a difficult position here for NightMare, and it looks like Colossus is going to be the splash damage of choice, but it almost feels like he needed that yesterday. This is tough.
Okay, this is some very good kiting. The mines are ready, and the shots are going to connect very nicely, but I got to say, well, man, that's actually a lot.
So many mines.
Well, man, that is actually a lot, dude. Now, infantry armor is done, so he's going to be a little bit more tough in this fight. He is going to thin out some of these Zealots.
Yeah, and you can see NightMare just trying to throw a couple of Zealots in there to add some, you know, dispatch some of the Widow Mines, their splash damage coming in, and actually hold that thought as NightMare now, once that Colossus pops, is going to take that opportunity to push in. And he is able to clean up a good number of the Widow Mines, but still, that army there for NightMare is looking mighty weak.
Yeah, you know, we've seen this with Maru before, this tug of war, you know, just outside the Protoss's base, that sometimes these fights go on for like 5 minutes straight. And it just, eventually you start to see, even though it looks like it's been close, the Terran is actually like 50 supply ahead or something like that. We want to watch these Colossi as well. If he can get enough Colossi in numbers, he can trade out with the splash very nicely. But as I say that, one already goes down.
Yeah, and those Widow Mines also hit the Stalkers too, so only 3 Stalkers remaining here for NightMare as another Colossus gets disabled, and Maru just stimming a win right here, kiting forward with complete confidence is going to clean up much of NightMare's army.
Yeah, and I mean, almost feels like a bit of an overextension, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I think this is probably the beginning of the end. Maru, too good, man.
Yeah. These GTs are going to try and save the day, but I mean, that's just putting a clock on your defeat right here as Maru just continuing to push into this third base. It will eventually fall. Maybe with a Hail Mary disruptor shot. I mean, he's only able to get that one Widow Mine. I think we're going to see GG any second now, Tasteless.
Yeah, this is looking to be over. NightMare did put up a very good fight, but, you know, Maru's he's actually wiggling his Medivacs now. He's just too good, man. Just too good. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, NightMare just kind of digesting this loss a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, just processing it. Obviously, it's not over. This is the group phase, so he'll be in the losers match. But Maru, with a very, very impressive showing, just comes out dominant. The Robo is now unpowered. He can't make any more disruptors or Colossi or anything else from that.
He just wants one nice disruptor shot to end the series on a high note, but Maru's not going to give it to him. And that's going to be GG as Maru takes the series 2-0.
Wow. He's so good. By the way, very cool to see this sort of early bunker style come out.
Yeah.
And to see it not work at all in game 2, and then Maru's like, no, this is fine. Watch this.
You know, the bunker specifically didn't get too much done, but the engineering bay block and then forcing NightMare to go for a Nexus on that third base actually opened up so much room for Maru to find damage with those Reapers. I think even before the Widow Mine drop came in, he picked off 3 or 4 probes early, which is a big deal when you're trying to, you know, get up on that 2-base economy, because if you're not able to really get the ball rolling there as Protoss, you're never going to get the army that you need to actually stop a push like that dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
And so instead it just leads to the same situation that we've seen Maru in time and time again, where he'll just kind of hunker down outside of the natural, outside of the third base, and he won't leave. And you have to keep fighting into him. The Widow Mine shots come in, he kites back. And it's just a slow death there for Protoss, and, you know, Maru kind of putting on a TVP clinic here to start off GSL.
I mean, the way that Terran is designed, they sort of have that ability to both sustain and kind of just pull more and more damage over time. Anyways, actually, we're going to go to a break right now. We'll be right back with our second best of 3.